Are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
I'd like to bring together the ESC meeting officially this evening. According to the township manager, we have met quorum by virtual and people in attendance this evening, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. First thing I'd like to do, since we met the criteria, I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag, state to America, and to the republic for nations, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, so the third agenda is approval of the minutes. We have a vacancy at the secretary position. There was some interest with ROMs. They were provided according to resolution 2004-15, what needs to take process with that. I've not heard an update on if there's going to be a change to make that officially legal. Any feedback from the ROMs?
Not that I'm aware of.
So we're unable to vote on the previous meeting minutes until they are officially done. Next is old business. Start out with report from the fire apparatus replacement committee, starting with hand in hand.
Yeah, I'm gonna defer to my chief here. I think we're starting to get a little closer here, but
Yeah, I'm not sure if last meeting, if I gave the update, we are scheduled towards the end of August to go out for final print approval. And then we expect delivery probably early April, early to late April, not sure yet. Once we get the print approvals done, we'll know how quick it's gonna go online and get produced. So we're looking at next year delivery. Seems like we just signed for it last year, so it's been a crazy quick 4 years almost.
How far are they behind? How far?
No, they're actually ahead. We actually moved up. Yeah, we were scheduled for actually mid to end of 27. And with some of Pierce's production efforts and efficiency efforts, they were able to move up some of their production dates, so.
along those lines, a question for Tara. Do you have any feel for, I know you have applied for a grant that could potentially help pay for any of that. Do you have any expected date to hear a yes or no, or what's the timeline typically on that?
In November,
Okay. So next November,
we have a budget
okay.
at the state.
Well, I mean, we have a little bit of time yet, but we were starting to think about in terms of how much we put towards relief, how much, and now we're looking at the little bit. Obviously, I think I have to go back up the contract's been a few years. I think it was maybe 90-day repay, so we can have fun within that window. So at this point, give the guys feedback on that. But yeah, I think that's all we've.
Next is Lafayette ladder truck.
No considerable changes. Sitting in the queue for pretty much Q2 delivery 2028. Got a little ways.
And when was the projection of that supposed to be a replacement?
pretty much right on.
right on, same time, so no major delay, I mean. And then no other from Romp.
No, no, this one.
And nothing from Whitmer. Chief Kern.
That's correct. Nothing that's in the apparatus plan. Our duty vehicle is on order, but it's not finished up yet.
Any public comment on this section? All right, next business is subcommittee, public information.
Yeah, we finished the newsletter. We did it a little last minute and got some assistance from a person who's aspiring to join Lafayette. And so hopefully, thank you to all the fire company for getting that information in for firefighter of the year spread. I think it's turned out pretty good, so excited to see that. Thank you again to the township for allowing us that space.
Finance committee, you want to give an update with that?
Yeah, I can give you an update on that. So our committee met on March the 5th. And I think we had a pretty constructive meeting. I was attended by all 4 companies. There are minutes available. I think hopefully most of you have gotten it. Did anybody not get the minutes from that by email? I think everybody was hopefully copying on that. So I give you some flavor of what was discussed. But yeah, we had a good discussion. We know we got some work to do. It's going to be a challenging project that we've taken on here. I know the initial guidance or request from the township was to really pursue the fire tax topic, and we're in the process of doing that. But we kind of started with initially we started by looking at and talking, and we kind of had a broad ranging discussion, but in the end, we kind of boiled it down to the process. I think what we're going to try to do is try to pull some figures together, hopefully be able to do a 10-year projection for each of the 4 fire companies. And we're hoping to have that data back here by our next meeting. And that will start by establishing where are we at currently, with the status quo, the way the funding is that we're currently getting. And then that will go a long way towards, once we see those projections, to see, is there a large deficit or gap there that we need to fill? If there is, we want to quantify that. What kind of figures are we looking at? And then the next steps will be to determine where can that funding come from. And it has to really, I think it seems fairly straightforward. It's either going to have to come from each of the individual companies being able to raise more money, or we'll have to either cut things that we're planning on buying, or we're going to have more township funding. So those are really the 3 possibilities. And we thought a prudent first step would be to let's determine really where we're at. I know we've been getting, each of the 4 companies have been providing the township with their year-end financial statements. So the data, we're already providing that data, but I think this will be the first time where we've actually looked into the future and said, on the path that we're on now, big of a financial challenge do we actually have? I know we've done that in the past with the apparatus part of it, but this will be looking a little more at the overall picture. So that's the plan as of now. It should kind of go without saying, but we're hoping to do something that is going to be, we know there's going to have to be some compromise. We know we have 4 different companies and 4 different unique positions. I know this is a topic that's been talked about, discussed a lot over the years, and it's always a challenge to come up with something that all 4 companies can live with, that the township can live with, the taxpayers. And I think, again, I'm hopeful we can get to that. We had a good discussion, and I'm hoping that continue to move down that path. So again, the next meeting is scheduled for April 2nd. Our plan at this point is to meet monthly. We're shooting for the first Thursday evening of the month, which I believe is April 2nd. And we're going to try to stick with that over the next 3-4 months, whatever it takes, hopefully. Goal is to have some good information that we can come back to this committee with, and for the township and the supervisors before their next budget cycle starts. We're also aware, we talked about the fact that the township they're going through a planning process already, and maybe a specific study of the fire service. So we're kind of hoping to get ahead of that a little bit, do our own internal study here, especially the financial part of it. Be prepared to have that ready so that when other views come in, that we have all the information that we need to make, allow Roger and the other supervisors in the township to make good decisions. So again, I know it's a challenging topic, and I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can. I think we all bring our own bias from each of the companies that we represent, and I think that's okay. I mean, we're all here to advocate for what's best for the overall service and each individually. And I think I think we'll get there. So, and I'd be open to having anybody else comment that was at the meeting, or, yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I think somebody else had something. I do have, by the way, a little bit of an outline that I laid out that we kind of worked off of for that meeting. If anybody would like a copy of that, I don't think I emailed that to everyone. Everybody was at the meeting that night, had it. But I've got some extra copies here I can email to you. It kind of laid out a little bit of the game plan that I think we're trying to work on. So if anybody wants a copy of that, just let me know. I can provide you with a copy of that as well. So that's all I have, Ron.
All right, thank you. Human Resources Committee, we did a SWOT analysis, kind of breaks down what's going well, where we're kind of falling short and where we need to improve. That meeting went pretty well in February. The biggest part is breaking down silos between 4 organizations, and it seems like we have starting to do that. We then followed up at March 12th, last Thursday. Topics that came up that we're kind of in limbo. We're going to have to get buy-in from the township as far as some concerns were brought up. Finance committee, bringing a consultant in, not understanding the culture of 4 different organizations. You have one organization that's more of an urban department when you're looking at statistics, and then you have another organization is between suburban and urban, and then you have 2 rural fire departments. So when you put that all together, it's tough to come up with one exact, what is a perfect model. So the HR committee is kind of in limbo based off of where we can get with this consultant. One of the first topics that came up is our ISO rating, needs to be reevaluated. Apparently supposed to be done a while ago. And the goal with that is to kind of get some guidance as far as specific needs to improving business insurance for our township. The second part was daytime staffing versus redistricting, assisting leveling out the township volume. So I have, when I provide the SWOT analysis, I broke it down. What I used is kind of dividing line Mount Sydney to Bowman Road. And there is a significant difference when you're looking at about a 20-80 split. So I split it east and west based off of that dividing line, because I need to put a line somewhere. And when you look at our population median, it's about 18,018. When I looked at the Census Bureau, the last thing that was published, and then broke down all the population, employees, household, and businesses, that's what the percentage ends up breaking down. So when we looked at that, we looked at daytime staffing. We're pushing that back to the chief's level to get some feedback due to the inequalities in population, call volume, employees, households, and businesses that were noted in a SWOT meeting. And then that's when we looked at the east and west volume. When you look at call volume less than 200 on the west side per organization versus, or the east side versus the west side, you're between 500 and 714. That's unsustainable. That's not sustainable long term when you're looking at recruitment and retention. The goal is, the reason we looked at daytime staffing is the goal to ensure we provide reliable resources and communication to stations that may be short on a specific day. Susie brought up that 63 has improved with staffing during the day with actually having on-duty crews. Station 41 brought up that they have business buy-ins, that they let volunteers leave during the day. They have a duty crew set up in advance, so they know exactly what's staffed and what's not. The third part was the inequality of call volume. When you're looking at call volume, there's a severe difference when you look at the west call volume versus the east, and that's not meeting our ESC mission. And we have to look at overall fairness and sustainability at the volunteer level. The fourth part was coming in alignment with the organization's mission to the township. First part of that was all 4 fire department representatives on the HR committee are willing to look at other consultant questions. I know the Keys brought up that he provided, some consultant questions that were done in the past at other organizations. As an HR committee, we were willing to take a look at it, and do majority of the legwork, because then we think that there's more objective information versus subjective, because we know the culture between all 4. We're willing to work with the township to save money and keep the culture that we currently have, in this township. Although we did say, obviously, when we get all this information and data, we'll need some kind of point of contact. So we would like to use a consultant in some part that, they can take all the information, and be able to put it together and give us a breakdown of everything. And then we can come up with solutions as a committee and with the fire chiefs and et cetera, to look at what's best for the actual township. Like I said before, the concerns were brought up at the finance committee, that when you look at some of this outsourced evaluations, they can be very subjective, but it isn't necessarily beneficial for the culture of individual fire departments not knowing how they operate, which we kind of saw that in the finance committee. And in our plan for our committee, what is the plan of the township? What is the target date and what is the end date for this consultant projection? Do we have any?
We don't have that. The comprehensive plan is not finished.
Okay,
That needs to be finished first.
okay. Do we have an idea when the map will be done?
We actually have a meeting set up with the consultant March 30th.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it'll be finished.
Right. It's just,
That's the next meeting.
and then recruitment retention, there is, like I said, just looking at call volume, there is a difference. So I know 41 does an excellent job. We broke that down, right from the beginning, hand in hand, about they have planned for the future for recruitment and retention. And it's something that we looked at using as an HR committee. It's just, we have zero guidance from the township as far as what our future is. So we can put all this legwork in, and then if the township decides that they want to use a consultant 100%, then all the work we're doing isn't gonna play a major role in this. So that's where we kind of are as far as that. The other part is how can we curb and stabilize and call volume in the township? And then, like I said, we need to know the future from the township as far as based on the SWOT analysis, looking at different areas, the geographical area, how they want us to move forward with that. The 6th part is business came up. Basically allowing employees to leave for calls, look at the township incentives, recognize employees aren't getting paid to leave, which is a lost revenue for them. What investment has the township done for businesses in the past that basically let their employees leave? How can we better promote this as a township? At the ESC level, when you're looking at like the east side, they're averaging 0.4 calls per day, and the west side, you're over 2 calls per day. And then also, how can we promote to get the busier areas and letting employees leave responses during the day from a business perspective?
I can tell you the township does not intervene in how businesses operate or tell businesses that they have to let their staff leave.
But is there any incentives? Has there ever been any incentives for a business that, like property tax or
No.
et cetera? Okay. Okay. And then, the 8th part was getting administration with all organizations in collaboration, doing what's best for the township. So we've knocked down some silos as willingness, all 4 fire departments doing the legwork of the future planning instead of completely outsourcing to a consultant. We know we're knocking down the silos with active communication in the committee to improve the service being provided to the township. The past, there was a lot of feedback as far as lack of motivation and not everything that's being heard in meetings was being brought to light. And then we are evaluating all that and coming up with solutions. But again, it's what the township's future is for us to move forward with that. And then we need to know the township's buy-in before we can advance the committee considering time versus the future. And the last part is, it was made public last year by the state fire commissioner and also elected officials. Lancaster Township or Lancaster County was brought up that within a 5-mile radius, if there's multiple companies in that 5-mile radius, they're at risk of losing state funding. With that being said, we talked about that, about how we need to work together essentially with grants and future. We already know that the federal grants are drying up and if state grants dry up, that's going to be even more hardship on everyone. And then do we look at, as far as equipment, making it more equal between all 4 organizations, saving money, accountability, and buying power? And that was it for the minute. Any questions from the public before we move on the subcommittee reports?
You mentioned a couple times in your, in your information you provided about the township, what they're gonna do. They haven't said anything that they're gonna change what the mission of the ESC is and their goal of having 4 separate volunteer fire. Why is that an issue now?
Because if you're putting it out to a consultant, that could be out of our hands. It depends what the consultant, the township hasn't made any decisions, but they're wanting to get a consultant in to make an evaluation. So we need some guidance from the township as far as, are they going to support as a committee and as the ESC to let us do a lot of the legwork, or are they gonna let 100% of a consultant come in and make, give the feedback to the township?
I would think that if the committees won't, if the subcommittees are willing to do it, the township would accept that rather than having to pay an outside organization. And from what I would think that the supervisors know that we tend to know our area and our culture and our resources a lot better than what an outside party.
Let's remember, this is one potential aspect of the entire comprehensive plan, and the board needs to set priorities as to which of those goals and objectives move forward first. They haven't even seen the plan yet, so they can't weigh in on which of all of the goals and objectives, from housing to land use, transportation. Fire service is one aspect of an entire comprehensive plan.
On the flip side of that, though, when we're looking at volunteer hours and putting time into a specific area, and then for it to turn around and say, oh, in a year that someone can come in and completely everything you've done. Township has to make that decision whether they're willing to let us do majority of the work or they're going to bring someone in to do it. Because if we're not going to spend hours, volunteer hours, to do, surveys and et cetera, and put all this information together for them to turn around and we pay someone to come in and do it.
I understand.
So that's where the priority is for us. How can we operate as a committee with an unknown, future?
All I'm saying is that the comprehensive plan hasn't been adopted yet. So the study that is talked about in the draft comprehensive plan has not even been approved by the board at this point. And so you asking the Township Board of Supervisors, what's the future? Where are we going? Are we having a consultant at this moment is premature.
Oh, we're also looking at fire tax too, correct?
That hasn't been decided either.
Okay.
The board sent back the fire tax idea at the budget workshop and said, this needs further discussed and researched.
It seems to me like a lot of this is going to be dependent on how good of a job we do and whether we're able to come up, whether we're able to actually do what needs to be done in order to provide fire service for the township. And if we can do that well, I'm feeling consultant's opinion is going to probably matter a whole lot less than, obviously, if we're failing at some point, something's going to have to be done. So I think we still have the opportunity in our hand.
Overlap what our committee said. And we were more, on the finance committee, we were more of the idea that we are going to look at what we're doing before a consultant. Right.
But you have to have buy-in by the board of supervisors to do that.
We.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We have to present this to board of supervisors. They have to give the approval, like they're willing to accept everything we're doing moving forward versus assuming that they're gonna do that.
This is an important conversation for the board of supervisors that are in the room to hear, because we're all independently running multi-million-dollar nonprofit organizations to serve the township. And without strategy and direction, it's very hard. I think all our business owners are involved at that level. It's very hard to plan. It's very hard to buy multi-million-dollar pieces of apparatus. These are all things that require planning. And so we appreciate the buy-in investment of the current situation, but we also know that the status quo is probably not the future of the fire service. So we're trying to get ahead of that with the research and time and effort we're doing. But if all of this time and effort, in addition to volunteering and running the fire calls, is just going to kind of be flushed, then you can imagine that that time commitment is something that we're all kind of teetering with in our head for that research part.
And then the second part of this is the next year at the forecast committee, we're dealing with over $1 million deficit as a township. So that's the other part of this. So that's what's in the mirror of, hard decisions are gonna have to be made at some point. And who's gonna make those hard decisions? I mean, we've done this in the past, but we have to have buy-in according to our resolution. We have to have buy-in by the township supervisors. If they feel that they want to do a comprehensive study, then, or get a consultant in, it's their right. We can make a recommendation as a committee, but we have to have buy-in by the township supervisors that they're willing to move forward with our recommendation of us doing majority of the work.
I think what's promising about this, at least in my experience of sitting in this room as a community member, is that I used to sit in here and people talked in circles. We all came to the table today by sitting in subcommittee meetings and doing research and bringing viable solutions into this room that I didn't see in the past. And so I think it's super commendable to all the folks that are investing time in that. And it's something for you all to be mindful of, that there are efforts of collaboration to come in here with solutions rather than just talk in circles.
I think if we come up with good solutions, I think the supervisors will support us. And if we don't, I have a feeling they're going to find other options, because that's really the only choice they have. So I think it's incumbent on us to do whatever we can to try to, come up with solutions, because we are supposedly the experts in the room in terms of fire service. So I would assume that they're going to ask us to come up with a good plan first. And then if they don't like that, then they may have to travel down a different road. Just my opinion. So I think we still have a window. I think we can still, again, do the best we can to try to come up with something that makes a lot of sense for the public and for the supervisors and for our fire companies. But at some point, if we're not able to do that, or we're not able to perform, then the decisions will be taken out of our hands at some point. So I'm still cautiously optimistic that we're capable and willing to do that. So that's my thoughts on it, I guess. But
Do you have any feedback, Roger, on that?
Not sure. I'm not sure what I would say, but there's a lot of struggles overall with the township, and I would say as part of the supervisors, we're very proud of our fire departments and what they do in this township. So I think you as fire departments come up with good solutions. Because I, as one supervisor, not looking for any more consulting fees to pay, all this other things. I would say at this point, for myself speaking, for myself only, we're gonna rely heavily on your input because you're on the front lines. You know what's going on.
From what I've heard from the supervisors in general, I would say that they are not looking to add any new costs to the budget. I mean, we're already deficit spending. So in general, no new costs to the budget that the budget cannot handle in any way. So I would agree with Roger that as a general statement, I think that there would be support from the board to move forward with actions so that they have the opportunity to view what the options are. I think that there's the possibility that one option is a fire tax. The possibility is that another option is, whatever comes out of the finance committee or the human resource committee combined, because it sounds like there's a lot of overlap there, as well as the apparatus plan and taking that into account over the next 4 years, because we're a year in now. So I don't think that they're closed-minded in any way, and I don't think that it's a waste of time.
Our projection from the HR committee, which we were gonna present at the finance committee, was look at consultant plans that have been done elsewhere, gather the questions out of that, put them together, and then submit it to the committee, ESC committee, to get approval, and then move that to the supervisors to make that final decision, if everyone on this committee is okay with that direction.
I'm not committee, but I'm not okay with that. Not what the questions aren't, what the end goal really is. As a resident, before you even go to do that, I think you can establish what that goal is, and maybe you guys already know. To just start pulling questions in and then get answers, however you do that, and then give that to the supervisor. What end goal you want the supervisors to do? Where I'm coming from is the more we talk about putting stuff back on the supervisors, the less autonomy the 4 fire companies have, individually and collectively. And in my opinion, we want to quit that.
We do, but the state made it very clear to us that within a 5-mile radius, multi-fire companies will not get state grants. That was
been passed.
That was made very known in a public forum by the state commissioner and also by elected officials. So they're making it because they put out a $30 million grant and it was gone very quickly. So that they are already starting that process. So the warning's already there. So from an HR committee, we're looking at that and saying, we fit that model. And then when I look at the budget, at the forecast budget, and we're over $1 million deficit, we have to come up with something as a committee. That's the difference of today, with a possibility of a fire tax. So when you look at all 3 things, and then the 4th thing is the federal grants are drying up. So a lot of resources that we rely on as organizations, volunteer organizations, is going in the wrong direction. How, as a township, can we prepare for this using questions that a consultant coming in is going to use? So only thing we're doing is instead of inventing multiple questions, we're just looking at different consultants that have done this. These are the questions that they use and bring them back, and what will be most beneficial for the township for this. I mean, we can develop our own questions, but again, it's hours and hours and hours that we're asking volunteers to put into this when the consultant comes in and already has this done, so we can use them. And that's what we're gonna present, and that will go to the finance committee to look at, and it'll also go to the human resources committee and the public information committee to look at them and see kind of tailor what would work for this, because that's what if they get an outside consultant, that's what they're gonna use. And we talk about in the finance committee, there's a lot of subjective information because they don't know the culture. So we're trying to keep the culture in, but also use something, so we're not utilizing multiple hours and reinventing the wheel that's already there. Does that answer?
Stated where I'm coming from, even, you know, what you said, I'm still standing. by this.
Okay. So we're just trying to, it's come up, something has never come up in the past, it's come up, and we're trying to be proactive as just not ignoring it, like it's not gonna happen, and try to provide a solution of doing it ourselves, presenting it to because we can't do anything as a committee, we can only make a recommendation, the board of supervisors has a final say, so we're just trying to be proactive that we're coming up with a solution, being a major part of the comprehensive study, but we can't do it all. I mean, to have analysis and all that stuff, there's gonna be, at some point, we're gonna need some assistance, but it's just majority of just taking all the information and plugging it in where we need it. Any other questions on that? Good question, thank you. Tow policy.
Yes, so the chief put together a small group of tow operators as well as emergency responders. I believe the chairman was on that meeting as well to go through the policy. There is another meeting set up on the 31st of March that the individuals have been asked to attend as well to, I hope, finalize the tow policy and bring it back to the committee and to the board of supervisors.
Okay. Any questions from the public on that? All right, false alarm fees.
So I received today a revised false alarm ordinance. Which was emailed out to you, and there are copies here. Lee's going to put it on the screen for people to follow through. There's definitions. There's then commercial registrations, which I believe we all talked about previously and agreed that that was appropriate. There is a clause in there for failure to register and a time requirement in which you must register, whether it's a new system or an existing system. The obligation to maintain the system, and then the fees for false alarms. Now, we've aligned the police and the fire company false alarm costs, or fines, I should say. So under the current police false alarm, it's 4 for a residential that you get for free prior to being charged. In here, we suggested the first one be a no charge for residential and then increases by $50 for each one. And then moving to commercial, again, we suggested the first one be no charge and then increases by $100 for each one. The township solicitor also put in here a violations clause and penalties where if a person doesn't pay for the registration, if they don't pay their fines, or an important or, if they have 3 or more false alarms annually, then the township has the discretion to take them to the district justice at $300 a day for each false alarm.
Do we know how many businesses will several this would capture?
are the 2025 false alarms that have been billed. That have been. You'll see some have been paid, some have not been paid, and I'm sorry for those online.
Check. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So this follows the current policy where every quarter it starts over for commercial properties. So that the count starts over and the fees start over every quarter.
Eric, do you know what state was or is on the original ordinance that you said? Like this, it restarts on the quarter. What would be the date that ordinance was? If you can find it, not up there.
I will get,
It's quite years ago, probably.
I believe it is, I believe it's just a handful.
I don't recall that coming through.
Tara, that quarterly reset, that's still existing in the proposed, correct?
It varies for the year.
12 months. Okay.
Calendar, 12 months.
Restart beginning of each year.
I thought I saw it. I just want to make sure.
Businesses listed here, Tara, would be the ones that have incurred a fine for 2025, correct?
That is correct.
Do we have any idea how many, I guess my concern that I have with it, and I know we've discussed this, but I always have this concern is how many are out there that are good actors that are doing, taking care of their systems or not a problem, whatever. Now we're just piling one more thing that they've got to register, one more check they got to send in every year. And these tend to be the people that are taking care of it anyway. I guess I'm just curious, like how many people is this actually going to affect? If there's a list of, and again, I don't know how many are here of some of these duplicates, but I guess there may be 50 are on the sheet, are there another 50 that haven't had it? Do we have any idea how many alarms are in the township, I guess?
I do not know that
Okay.
answer. I don't know how many alarms are in the township, and so I can't tell you how many are good actors, how many have turned their alarm off and are not being monitored at all. And I can't tell you how many may have installed an alarm permit. I can't tell you how many are being actively monitored by service.
The ones that caused us grief are the ones that go our service as a whole, or the ones that are listed on the paper. But I just was curious because then I'm wondering also how much of the burden is that going to be on the township to find out who they are and to do the process this every year and follow up.
Have considered that.
When somebody doesn't pay their $50, how much work is it to go out and are you going to go through the court process when they didn't pay their $50? That's my concern, I guess, is like, I think what really brought this to the kind of to the ESC again, it keeps coming up is the pain point for us is we have to keep running these calls and it's like, how do we stop from getting all these calls? And I think that the fines, especially if they're enforced, can remedy that. I just want to make sure that we're not actually overreaching now and creating another problem for staff and frankly, for the good actors that are doing what they should be doing, that we try to keep it the requirements to minimal to benefit both the staff here and the businesses that are.
If this moves forward, this isn't something that staff at this point could take on to be a service that pays for itself.
Okay, those questions that crossed my mind, I was reading.
Question. The registration fees as well as the penalties, would they go to the general fund?
Yes.
Also, what benefit is there to having the registration for all of them when?
I think that-
Basically,
I think
The real winner of that is whoever's providing the service.
part of the benefit for the registration is determining which persons, landowners, don't have a system and are required to have it. The other part of that is determining which are we not going to as fire companies because they've turned the system off. And so they put the public at risk.
There's significant advantages.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Sarah, when these were rolling off on a quarterly basis, where they, in other words, is there a PAL that have never been collected? These are still the active ones, or is this a cumulative, going back how far?
So I only gave you 2025. And if you recall, I gave you all a memo about 2024 and 2022. We still have outstanding balances on some of those lines as well.
And if we were to, the supervisors were to implement the new policy, sort of, how something like that typically handled as far as these ones that are,
So we've billed, so we can still seek payment for that.
but it wouldn't be enforced.
Not under the new ordinance, that's correct. So I know some of you just got this here, so please take, a chance to review it and provide any comments. These are great discussion comments, Paul, as we work through this.
Top of posting, right?
I guess as anything happens, I mean, the start of 2027.
So my question is, again, when we're looking at the budget, of the fire department, you have 1 month here that you are 25%, and then you have one you're 65, and one you're 30, and you're breaking this all down by line item. So again, it's at the volunteer's expense, not, just looking at time on task. And also, that doesn't take into consideration that what it costs per time, each time they roll that piece of apparatus down the road.
I understand that, but this was not intended to fully fund the fire companies when they go out on a pulse alarm.
Right. But when I'm looking at a one over $1 million forecast budget, that's a deficit, this all plays a role into it, because when you're looking at expenses going down the road at a certain expense and not including the time on task for a volunteer, we're not looking to fund it, but we're also looking at being fair. And we're looking at these nuisance calls that I have an organization run 714 calls. And how can we curb some of those calls without affecting another organization having to pick them up? This is where it starts with nuisance calls. So there's a lot of unknown answers. I get Paul's point that we don't want to do it consistently, but part of the fire service is making sure the safety for everyone. So if there is businesses that aren't following the rules and there's a major fire, we weren't aware that they did not have alarm systems in there, then there's an obligation not be able to answer that question. And you're looking at safety and
I think, as I just glanced over this, I personally have filled out more reports for some of these addresses than what it lists. And I wonder if there's some efficiencies that we could do as far as how we submit these reports to take the burden off of township staff as well as us when we're submitting them. So maybe there's some kind of way for us to put this directly in so that they're not double work, because I know I've filled out a report and then somebody has to take said report and enter it in order to create this spreadsheet. So maybe there's some database that would make it more efficient moving forward. And more accurate, hopefully.
You said these go to,
That's what staff currently does.
yeah, okay.
Just have a curiosity, a detailed question. When I look at Walmart stores here, I see them billed $50, then I see the next bill $500. What's the discrepancy? Why would there be such a variation in?
Alarms that they had in that order.
Okay, so that's not actually reflected here, the number.
It
Okay,
is in fact in the,
in the billing.
that's correct.
Okay, good.
In that particular case, like, we can actually speak to that. So there were a lot of pressure drops in our water system, over time. And you can see the certain span of time when there were a significant number. And, in that case with Walmart, we kept having calls there because every time the pressure in the water system drops, it can influence the alarms panel system. And that will activate a water flow alarm for them. So it's something that they don't have a ton of control over, yet it becomes a nuisance because we still have to treat it as real until determined otherwise.
When do you, would like feedback?
On the ordinance,
Yes.
let's say within 2 weeks.
April 2nd, yours?
That would be great, right? What for the finance committee?
Everyone have to come in the finance committee with it. For over. New business, 2025 financial statements.
So I've received 2 companies' financial statements. I need the other 2. I'm not gonna name names. They know who they are.
You let me know. They were due
They were due on Monday,
16th.
correct?
All right, Cole Township Fire Companies, EMC.
Right, so Willow Road is under construction with that culvert replacement. That will be finished by the end of April. We did get word that that would be able to be achieved even after the month's delay. The Route 30 culvert reconstruction at Sautersburg begins Monday. So everyone should be well aware of that.
How long is that projected to?
Date, job, I don't know the answer. Sorry.
Sorry, that's what I thought. I want to check.
I thought the newspaper said November, but
Yeah,
I can be wrong with it.
That's great.
all summer, basically.
Internet paper on the internet. I mean.
Anything else? Any feedback you can give from the forecast committee of people that may not have been?
So Flathead was kind enough to host us this year for the forecast meeting on March 4th. We had Bob May there to talk about LEMSA and, what's going on with that organization, as well as each of the 4 fire companies had a chance to talk about their organization and where they stand with people, with finances, any capital purchases that were coming about in 2026 and what they may have accomplished in 2025. We went through the construction and building that's occurring in the township. as well as the public works and the upcoming paved roads, oil and chip roads, the sewer improvements that are happening, as well as the stormwater improvements that are happening, which you probably don't see, but they are happening. We put about $890,000 into lining and repairing a group of stormwater pipes that had seen better days. We have about 2.4 million worth to do this year. And we're still videoing stormwater pipe as we move forward. That hasn't yet been videoed. That's been a 5-year project. So I'm trying to go through each. Chief went through statistics in general from the police department and new folks that have come on board with that department and some that are leaving this year. So we are having some turnover in the police department. If you are aware of anyone that is looking to go into law enforcement, have them contact Chief Zerke. The finance guy, Kevin, went through, where we're at. And right that day, we had a pretty good day. So we hadn't spent all our money and we haven't collected all our money for revenues from taxes. So we'll see where we're at the end of the year.
Thank you. Anything from fire companies?
Sure. People think to celebrate for Lafayette here. Year to date, we've actually welcomed on 8 new fire members. Most of those were what I'll call senior fire staff over the age of 18. We did recruit a couple junior firefighters as well. One thing to note on that is most of these newer 18 or olders have 0 fire experience. So we're working with them. It's the first time they've seen a fire truck and decided to dive in head first, and it's overall a good thing. With that new training, it will cost about $4,000 per member to get them the training they need. To be potential, but no guarantee of reimbursement through the LCFA. We are working with them to see where we can get that cost neutralized there as well. CV Fire internship with 62 is well underway, which has helped promote some of the daytime staffing we're starting to see, as well as create interest from the younger generation. It's a good way to keep those guys engaged and guys and girls engaged and get them on board. One other thing I'd like to kind of celebrate here a little bit is we started asking the question around response times, staffing and whatnot. So we did a little research on that. The Lafayette Fire District has about 13,119 personnel located within it. NFPA 1720 states that that's going to be the urban designation due to having over about 1,000 per square mile. We actually have, you break that 13,000 and change down, 1990 per square mile. So running the math on our response times, we are actually coming up with, I believe it was 8 minutes and 24 seconds, and we need to hit the target goal of 9 minutes. So we're exceeding that goal. We're doing a pretty good job getting out the door. So that's one thing to kind of give our personnel credit for there as well. Moving on to the operational side of things. The mobile radio installation is in process. However, the portables will be back ordered till summer, possibly a little bit longer, just kind of chip shortage and whatnot there. Waiting on that. We did purchase 8 sets of new turnout gear to replace aging turnout gear that's exceeded the NFPA 10-year lifespan. We pretty much treat that as a guideline. We still do use some of the older stuff with some of the younger staff that may not be going inside. It keeps them dry in the inclement weather and whatnot. But we were able to work that out. Total cost at about $38,000 and change there that we're investing in. Talking real briefly here into some of the financial stuff. Moving on, capital campaign. We've been able to raise about the funding over a goal through the silent phase. We should be going public with that as well. Fosnot event came to a conclusion not long ago. That was in memory of Jan Fosnot, who worked with the East Lampeter Township PD, for those of you that may have known him back in the day. It was an overall success, raising approximately $3,300 towards cancer initiatives. Since we reached the goal of purchasing the gear extractor in the past, we're actually investing a lot of this money in other things like getting basic hoods or the gear itself. That way we can try and protect our personnel and give them additional barriers or something to swap into if their first one is tarnished and in the wash. That way we can keep them pretty much battle ready at all times. Just kind of following up here a little bit, is the next upcoming events, March 27th is our community networking food truck event we have going on. April 11th is our annual chicken barbecue. Just a reminder, we're selling only the chicken meals. We're not doing the pork this year. So if you're really into pork, sorry. And finally, April 22nd, we're hosting a blood drive in conjunction with Mellingers Church. That is all I had for Lafayette.
Good.
What was the date of the food truck again?
Food truck event is going to be March 27th. Come on out, get yourself some grub. You do that.
Roundabout's done.
Next.
For Rob's, all we had, meters were ordered, and we ordered the same time as Lafayette, so. Backwards.
Thank you.
Yep. That's all I got.
All right, hand in hand.
I don't really think I have a whole lot of anything, business as usual, a lot of things going on, but I don't even have anything special. Chief, you have anything you want to?
Our traffic unit is about halfway complete, the body, so that'll be getting mounted here in the next couple of weeks. And then we'll be getting we're upfitting the graphics and the medium station and getting the equipment put on it. So we're looking at probably June, late May, early June for in-service date.
How did chicken pot pie go?
Oh,
Good.
yeah.
I bought 10 quarts.
I don't know.
No, I think similar to other years.
At least it's gonna be which we'll have a meeting before that, barbecue.
And then Whitmer.
Yeah, we have our Oxford coming up April 25th. Line dancing May 9th at 6 p.m. at the firehouse. Since January, we've taken in a total of 7 new firefighters. 4 of those came with experience. So that's definitely helped us out. And the ELT chiefs held a meeting February 17th at our firehouse, talked about a variety of topics, from staffing to responses. And we're hoping to meet a little bit more frequently. That's all I have.
All right, anything from the actual committee? Any feedback from any members? All right, one thing I did want to bring up, I know
Emergency management.
sorry. Go ahead.
Emergency management, we've been quite busy since January dealing with the snowstorms, getting out information regarding to major snowstorms that we had, keeping everybody up to date, so forth with information. Emergency management township's been involved with the Conestoga River contamination tabletop exercise, what we held this week. We had Captain Shank from East Lansing Police, as well as Officer Hess too, attended that tabletop with Lancaster City, with the Bureau of Water and with other municipalities involved dealing with the contamination from the Lancaster Country Club dealing with the pesticide. That was a tabletop. There's going to be a full exercise in the fall. More information to come for that. We continue to monitor the severe weather and been pushing out severe weather alerts and so forth. Also we've been assisting with Conestoga Valley High School. I've been dealing with John Werner with different policies and so forth to assist them with their needs as well. Other than that, that's all I have to report at this time.
Yeah, if you heard
What?
the tabletop event they wanted to have, they were looking to have it at Smoketown. Has there been any more on that?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
The tabletop event.
Yes, sir.
Have you heard any update on that?
For which one?
For the active shooter?
No, I have not heard anything about that. You're talking about the school?
Yeah.
I know they've been planning on stuff with that. There was a meeting that was supposed to be held, but they had canceled that meeting. But I'll get back with John and check on that, Jonathan.
And then back to the committee, anything from the committee? Well, yeah, I want to bring up, so I know that the Board of Supervisors do awards, citation awards. It was voted on twice in the past. The region, the EMS region actually gives out cardiac arrest, childbirth. And there's another one I can't think off the top of my head that the EMS agency has to physically present. It's not something that it's done by, it's not a citation award that would be done by the Board of Supervisors. It really falls under, public safety than it does anything else. With that being said, instead of tying up a township meeting, it could be presented by Peckaway Valley, it could be New Holland, that directly involves our fire service would be a part of it. It being presented at this meeting versus at a town, taking up a town more time at a township meeting, because it would be promoting our fire service that was directly involved with the actual call versus the citation that the townships give out. I think it's a good thing. Obviously, it wouldn't be presented if it didn't involve, has to directly involve the fire service here. But then it keeps everyone local versus having to travel wherever. It would be held at the township level at a public forum versus being on the news. Does anybody have any objection from this committee doing that?
How many individuals and where are they from?
So it would be whoever would be involved. So it could be.
Future?
Yeah, for the future, moving forward. It's whoever's a part of the crew. So the fire department, if the police department would be there, but it would be only for this township that it'd be presented. So it'd have to be an Eastland, an incident to happen in Eastland, Peter. That probably would fall out of the citation awards that the township currently has.
And so it would be all of the individuals involved?
Whatever the committee would be open to doing.
So this committee would decide who's involved in.
It'd be presented, yeah.
Okay.
So your cardiac arrest isn't necessarily might not meet your citation award you would give at the township level. We do it, Lancashire EMS usually does it at township level to promote the fire department or the EMS agency. Like the example was that we had one in Paradise and we did it at the township level because they don't have emergency services committee at Paradise Township. So it wasn't an award that was given by the township supervisor. It was just presented with one of their committee member or community members was present, and we gave the awards out to that. But it's through the region. It's not through anywhere else. So we just submit the information to the region, and then the region sends the certificates down, whoever was involved. So the 911 center, any EMS agencies, fire, police, etc.
And EMS has to apply for this?
EMS has to apply for. Yes.
So why wouldn't it be held at the EMS location?
Because you're making people travel.
People travel from the 911 center to here?
Well, we're recognizing it would be someone from the township, so usually they're present. And then we present the award in a public forum. Because it's involved with this township. So there's no real press release unless unless the news is there or the newspaper's there. So the goal is to promote the committee or community member and also the fire service that's directly involved.
Are the individuals that would be awarded asked if they want to be part of that?
We present it to the fire departments and it's up to them if they want to be a part of it.
So we could have no one wishing to be a part of it actually in East Lampeter, but then have the 911 center folks here.
There would have to be buy-in from the fire department first.
I'm just asking about all these questions because we have plain sect individuals that serve on a number of these fire companies who would prefer not to be on camera at a public meeting.
So how we've dealt with that in the past has it, so does, Paradise that responded to that. They attended it, but they just weren't in the picture. So they attended the public forum, but they just weren't in the picture that the township took.
But do they video their
That's a
meeting?
good question.
So when we have individuals that don't wish to be on video, they stand off to the side.
Yes, and we would ask each department if they would want their name called off or not, or we would just say, some people here are attending and they would get their certificate and they actually get a bar for their uniform.
And so what are the criteria as to when these are applied?
The most, labor and delivery, which most fire departments would not go to unless it'd be like an accident or something. The biggest one is cardiac arrest. Is the one that, I don't know how many we have, there's sexual, it's less than 10% usually that you get someone back and they walk out of the hospital. So it's a very far minimum margin that you would actually do these. But looking at recognizing the hard work that everyone did for a small, positive outcome. Is I think it's positive for the mission of this committee is to recognize elected.
So how are they being handled currently? If it happened in East Lampeter Township, where is it being presented currently?
It depends. It's up to the EMS agency how they want to handle it.
Right.
So usually we've taken a stance of we usually reach out to like the township and say, hey, we've had, this individual that we had a resuscitation, the police department was involved, 911 center was involved, the fire department was involved. Are you open to do it during township meeting?
Have you done in that township meeting, supervisor meetings in the past here?
So there have been individuals recognized at township board of supervisor meetings
Okay.
in the past. The most recent that I can recall is a neighbor and officers that pulled an individual out of a burning building over on Hickory. It was the neighbor, correct? Yes. That's the most recent I can remember. But that was done at the board of supervisors.
Right. And would we be leaving them out of something if we were to do it here? I guess that's the follow-up question to that. Like, are we, I don't know where the appropriate, I guess I don't have a strong opinion about one way or the other. I'm not that familiar with it, but I also don't want to take it away from, the supervisors or that public forum, which is probably maybe a little better known, although I don't know if it's better attended or not. Obviously depends what else is on the agenda.
Yeah,
I guess I'm kind of neutral on it either way. I'd be okay with trying it, or on the other hand, somebody's got a strong opinion on why we shouldn't be doing it that way.
I'm just trying to look at, it's not new, it's something that, and I talked to Peckway Valley, they were in support, like if they are handling the call, which they have some East Lampeter, that they were open to presenting that, because if we're not directly involved, they would have to submit it, but we do submit all of ours that are saves, because it's not just one individual, it makes a difference, it's everyone, which we know. It starts with CPR done before arrival, but the number is small that it truly happens, but the people that took the time out, it's just a way to recognize their time of coming out.
Rob, do you have anything that you might be able to share with the committee as a whole as to the criteria?
Yeah, I can send it. Alright, any other discussion on that? Okay. There's nothing else on, as far as new business, unless someone would wanna add something, citizen reps, any feedback? Chad?
No, I did not.
Any public comment?
Second.
Second. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay.